Whoever can withdraw this Excalibur from this Obsidian personal knowledge database will be king of all the yak shavers. If you understand what in the world I'm talking about, this is probably for you, but hopefully this is for the people who haven't clicked away yet but have no clue what I was saying. So, hello and welcome. We are going to be talking about an incredible plugin for Obsidian, and it will help you think visually and brainstorm and plan things and outline, write books better, keep track of orders that you've made but haven't been delivered yet, all sorts of ways that you can use this. I want to dive in, show you how it works, what it does, some of the frustrations I have, and then at the end, whether or not I use this in my own database, in my own daily life, and why or why not. So stick around and let's dig into the good stuff. Hello and welcome. My name is Jonathan Pritchard from iCanReadMinds.com. By day, I'm a corporate consultant, an author, keynote speaker, entertainer, MC, trade show guru, and by night, I do an interactive mind reading show. And the way that all of that works is by keeping track of my life and business in Obsidian. So I love making these videos about how I found my way through as somebody who is not a born coder, and I don't like being a coder, and I'm not a coder. So how do I use this program called Obsidian to make sense out of all of that? So that's what we are going into now with Excalibur, which is a community plugin. And in order to show you everything, we will hop into the screen share. And then once you see how it all works, we'll come back here and we'll talk about all the final details. So let's get in. And we are back into the trusty YouTube demo vault. And in order to get started with Excalidraw, we will need to go to our settings and community plugins, and then browse the available catalog. And it is one of the most installed plugins in the entire library. So if it is organized or sorted by most downloaded, you should see it here, which is a pretty good sign. And it was updated 10 days ago as of the time that I'm recording this, the 31st, I believe, of January. And plugins that were updated recently is a great sign because that means it's still in active development and it's probably going to play well with the most recent version of Obsidian and any other plugins that you might have. So we hit install, and then it will do that, and we have to enable it, and voila. And I do recommend that you watch this intro video eventually, but I'm making my own so that way you can get an outside opinion too. Also, there's a lot of information in here about how to tweak it and how to make it yours and how it will handle things the way that you want it to after you've spent the time getting it just right. But we're going to look at it the way that it is right out of the box, as I imagine most people like me will be using it, because I'm using Obsidian because it's incredibly simple and straightforward. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole of endless improvement. So let's close that out and close this out. And like most of what I do with Obsidian, I like to use the command palette. So Command P and then Excalidraw. And now from here, you can see all the things that you can do with it. You can create a new drawing in a new tab or in a new pane if you like split panes. However you like to use Obsidian, you can do it here. Basically, I want to use it in the current active window because there are no other notes open. So why open it in a new tab? We'll just open it here. So hit enter and voila, this is what we are looking at. And this is kind of the introductory graphic, which I love this image, and I wish I knew how to click it, but all right. So when you double click, that goes away, and I guess we will never see that ever again. But when you double click, you can add text here. And I like this font as kind of a handwriting font to make it look like I hand wrote it, but it's not my favorite, but you can change the font. There are 3 default fonts, and I won't even get into how to change those, but basically up here at the top are the different options that you have, which is to point around, point and click. You can add boxes or a diamond, circle, arrows, straight lines, freehand draw, which is kind of cool. That's really neat. So let's click that and hit delete. Works about how you'd imagine. And then add text, and voila. A lot more text goes there. And wow, that is a huge amount of text. So we'll just delete that, and there we go. We can add a photo from your attachments folder or straight from your computer. So let's see what happens here if we add in this big old picture. And I just clicked, and voila, there it is. This is a photo from a recent performance that I did called the Asheville Mind Reading Show. So if you're in North Carolina, cool. Come check it out once a month. Anyway, this picture now lives here. We can zoom out. I'm on the touchpad, so I'm just pinching to zoom just like I would on a phone, and then using 2 fingers to scroll around. So getting around is pretty intuitive. You could also hold down spacebar, click, and then move around if you like that. And then we can erase things. Voila. If you don't want to click and delete, you can erase. And I don't know if it's coming through the video quality, but basically there's a 1, a 2, a 3, 4, 5. So here you can eventually learn your hotkeys. So 1 is selecting things, 2 is the square, diamond, circle. So you can just use the numbers on your keyboard to select the correct tool that you want, which is kind of neat. And then also down here in the left-hand side, kind of nestled here, is the hamburger menu that you can click, and then up pops all these options. So you can change the background color of your operating space, your infinite canvas. You can change that there. If you prefer to work in dark mode, which I usually do, you can swap that here. But for sake of visibility, I'm going to leave it in light mode here. Toggle tray mode is kind of strange. So you click this, and now instead of being hidden behind that hamburger menu, it just lives right up here. And then the hamburger menu is up here. So I actually like having this action palette open all the time. So I just leave that there. But if you wanted to close it, it took me forever to figure out how to close that. So, but you could just toggle it. I mean, it seems like it should be simple, and I should have figured that out a lot faster. But I was looking down here and up here, like, anyway, this is over here. And then when you make a square like this, these are all the options now that it's selected, that we can change the color of the outline, called a stroke if you work in Photoshop, this will be second nature to you. You can change the inside color, and you could even assign keyboard shortcuts for your colors, which sounds like a great idea, but I don't go that deep on keyboard shortcuts. So your mileage may vary depending on how into this you want to get. And then you can do hatches, cross hatches, or solid color, thin to thick line around it, dotted line, or super dotted line, or solid. And then do you want this more mechanical and even, or you can kind of level up the gestural quality of the lines and arrows and stuff. I usually leave it on kind of architect clean. I don't like the kind of homegrown feel of the fake handwriting-esque line quality of this, so I just leave it on clean rather than sloppy. And you can change your border radius. Well, you can change that you have a border radius, but it's either sharp or roundy, and I'm sure we could find a script that would allow us to change that, but fresh out of the box, nope. And then you can tell it to go to back or to front and have overlapping elements, which is useful in a lot of things. You could also duplicate, delete it, or create a link to a document or a note in your library, right? So let's open this up so that we can see it a little better. So there we go. Now we have some room to breathe. And like most mind mapping and brainstorming things, you can just lay stuff out and connect them with arrows to other elements, which this is kind of a interesting way of doing it. I want to evaluate this on its own merits. I am a little more familiar with Canvas, and with Canvas, it's either at the top, the side, or the bottom, and it connects to the other node of the other element. But here, it's kind of like the whole gray area around this element is where the arrow originates from and connects when you see the gray border around the target object. So when you start and end in that gray, that's when the arrow will be connected, and it will just move around wherever you move either of these elements. Or you can select all of it. I guess you do have to select all of it. There we go. Neat. And as you saw, the palette goes away when I'm not working with a particular element, but when I do click on something that I would want to change what it looks like, the palette shows up, which pretty cool. I like that. And then if you want to add text to this block, instead of double clicking like you might want to do, you hit enter, and then you can enter text this way. And Command A to select all. And over here, the font family, you can see the pencil for handwritten, A for standard Arial text, and then this code icon for more kind of monospace-esque font. So those are the three fonts. Those are the three options you get in small, medium, large, extra large, and three fonts, three different ways to align text up, middle, down. You can make it opaque or not transparent, all that kind of stuff. And whatever you choose, the next one will remember. Right? Which is kind of neat. So there we go. Voila. One kind of cool thing with the arrows is if you click and wait, how do you do this? All right, yeah. Click, 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 and click. Now I hit escape to stop that insanity. And now you can click and drag, and it will move from the last anchor point while keeping these other anchor points, which is kind of cool. So if you want to get wild with your arrows, you can. And if you want to add a bend to it afterwards, you can. And it will do the same kind of thing, which is bend around that node. And again, if you are used to Photoshop or Illustrator or working in any kind of vector-based thing, this will all make perfect sense to you. So there you have it. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. But now let's try this, where we link to a note, and in a note, let's just do a new one here. Right? It automatically pops up a whole bunch of options. Let's just say meeting. And then when we are out of that, we can click on meeting and it will take us to the meeting note, and we can go back, and voila, that's how we interact with notes here in Obsidian. So here, I'm not seeing that autocomplete, and I click away, and then this pin and outbound link indicator that's a little difficult to see shows me that it really did understand that I wanted to link to that note, and if I click, it will open it. But there isn't really a good way to change it, because I think if I delete that, the link still exists to meeting. So the link isn't gone, it's at a different level than how we normally think about doing links between notes, which is kind of weird. So you can right click on the box, and then I think you can create the link or delete it, or yeah, I don't see an easy way to get rid of the link that's there, but you can create a link but not get rid of that text-based link. I thought unbind text would do it, but that actually just disengages it from the box that it's in, so that's not it. And then if you said, hey, let me create a link, well, you can type in the example note linking, and voila, we've created another link, but it's at the box level, not the text level. So you can now open the link, or there was edit link. So you're like, okay, let me edit the link. Well, now it's only editing the box link, and you can delete it that way. But then there's still nothing here. And then when you highlight it, so yeah, I don't know how to fix that. That's a weird thing to me, and it's not very intuitive, and I still haven't figured out how to fix that. So if you are going to be linking to a whole bunch of notes in your visual thinking, this will absolutely be something that gives you some frustration and challenges. So there's a couple other things that I still want to show you, and I don't want this to get super long. So there are some other elements here with the gearbox. Basically, that to me says, okay, here are the settings for Excalidraw, and then we'll look at that. But it brings up the scripts, and list of available scripts, layout and organization. So these are the different ways that you can change the behavior of Excalidraw that people have figured out. And it's basically an endless library of every single thing you could possibly want to tweak. It's in here. And you can see as I'm scrolling down, this little guy is what, 1/8 of the way, 1/10 maybe? I don't know. It's barely moving. You can see just how many different things are in here. So you could spend a lot of time getting this dialed in just right. So that is the script library if you want to play around with the back-end logic and the back-end of how it presents the front end and behavior of all sorts of stuff. It's all right here waiting on you, which is kind of cool. But we can hit the Obsidian tool and like, oh, okay, so hitting the Obsidian is not the Obsidian details or detail or the settings for Excalidraw. Instead, it has this weird hamburger menu, which we also have kind of over here. So that's kind of strange. You can click to expand or collapse. And we've kind of got this. So you can make that go away by clicking that again. And then you can insert any file, which now we can do the, all right, let's do the people and select section heading. We'll say hobbies and as embeddable. So now it has embedded this file as a transparent kind of thing, but maybe we want it to be green with a green outline and cross-hatched. So now that's how we would add a file. And now there are extra settings that you can do for how to embed that, which it's kind of weird, right? That you got to go this way instead of using the native markdown language. So maybe this is totally cool and natural feeling to you, but to me, it is really bizarre to have to go up here to do that instead of, right, or you could right click, that kind of thing, but it just feels too clunky because I'm used to just writing the link that way. Now here's the next and kind of last detail that I want to show with you is the library of elements. And there aren't any here, but you want to use this if you use a particular element all the time. And in all of your mind maps, you start with this shape for your core idea or whatever. Well, you can browse libraries. So when you click that, it will take you to this library of elements and interactive details and different shapes and icons and all sorts of stuff. And just like the script library, this is near infinite a number of things you can download of various qualities. This looks like clip art from back in the late 90s. There are clocks, which is basically a pie chart of stuff. Montessori basic grammar symbols. Okay. So there are icons, line drawings, just really bizarre, strange stuff. So you can add to Excalidraw if you have an online version, not the Obsidian version. If you are working with it in Obsidian, what you want to do is download any of these. We can just download this one and save it. Then when we go back to Excalidraw, which we'll do right now. Hey, and we are back. Up here, the three dots open and then click on wherever it is that you downloaded it. And voila, now you have this entire library of all sorts of different things that you can get bigger or smaller. I have no idea what con st exclamation point is or DC15, whatever, but now I have it. So we can kind of change the size of that, and now we can tile this up like whatever you want to do. So you can drag in different shapes. So if you do a lot of conditional logic layout of start here, decision shape, result shape, you can download all of that instead of just relying on the squares with the hard edges or the diamonds with the hard edges or circles. If you want more than those three shapes, you can go to the library, find the shapes that you want, install them, and now you can have them to use and build out all sorts of logic flows and decision making charts for people and standard operating procedures and all that kind of fun stuff. So that's kind of the general introduction to Excalidraw, what it looks like and how it works right out of the box. You might like to spend the time to get used to it and just really ramp it up and use it all day, every day. Or you could go with something more simple and built into Obsidian itself. And to share my final thoughts, I want to get back to the good camera with the good lighting. And yeah, let's get over there right now. We have been talking for quite a while, and these are my final thoughts. And here they are. Basically, the idea is that I want to spend more of my time using the system than setting up the system or optimizing it or learning how to use it. I like to keep things incredibly simple so that the tool gets out of the way and I don't have to spend a lot of mental energy keeping track of how does this work again? What do I need to be doing? And that is what we call yak shaving, which is by you start shaving the front of the yak, and by the time you've shaved it completely, the hair has grown back on the front end. So there's a never-ending process of trying to improve your system, and then it just leads into this spiral of never-ending, it's not good enough. And there is a very strong tendency to do that with Obsidian, the program as it is, where people go to great lengths to customize their theme and make sure all the layouts are perfect and they've got the best dashboard ever. And all of that time is spent on Obsidian rather than working in Obsidian to accomplish their goal. And as you can see from Excalidraw, with the libraries and the scripts, it's kind of like a whole Obsidian within Obsidian. So you could spend hours and days looking for just the right script to get just the right tweak, and now you've spent so much time on this thing rather than using it to get the thing done that you wanted to use it for in the first place. So that's why, for me, I use Canvas on a near daily basis because it's very simple and it works the way that I would think that it works, and it's tightly integrated because it's a core plugin rather than some other project that existed before and outside of Obsidian that has been retrofitted to plug into Obsidian, but it isn't like it doesn't have Obsidian in its genes. It's not grown from Obsidian. So those elements like being able to link to a document or a note, but it doesn't automatically turn into a link, kind of like it does in Canvas or any other note. So you can see that it's not as tightly integrated with the heart of Obsidian. So it the experience of it isn't in alignment with everything else that I've come to love about Obsidian. So it is incredibly powerful. It's extensible. You could add a whole bunch of stuff that will get it dialed in perfectly, but that is a double edged sword, pun intended, because of how you can get it to fit you perfectly means that it will never fit perfectly because you're always going to be looking for a better fit. So, if you are looking for a way to keep track of notes visually and to sort it out, then I would highly suggest that you try out the Canvas plugin. And I've made a whole video about that, which I will have linked as well. So go check that out. If you thought that Excalidraw looked cool, but a little bit much, go check this out and it might be the perfect fit for you. So thank you so much for making it this far into the video. I'm impressed you're still here. Let me know that you are still here by giving this video a like. That will tell YouTube that, other people like you should see this as well. It also helps me understand that this is the kind of thing that you would like to see from me in the future. And from the past, I've made a lot of videos about this amazing program. So I'm going to let YouTube figure out which one of those it should show you at the end of this video. Leave me a comment on whether you have used Excalidraw, whether it was a little bit much or it fit you perfectly. I'd really like to hear your thoughts about working with it. And if you'd like to see more videos about Obsidian or business and sales and making a living as an independent creator, subscribe to the channel. Those are the kind of videos that I make every single week, and I'm just going to keep doing it whether you subscribe or not, but I would love to have you in the party. So until next time, always remember, if you can change your mind, you can change your life.